Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie, and today I'm going to be talking about polish pickup shades that I wish would come back. You might remember me doing this video several months ago at this point. I think it was back in December, where I just talked about some nail polishes that were limited edition or retired over the years that I just desperately would want to come back at some point. And I think I did talk about a couple of PPU exclusive shades in that video, but I do remember seeing like a couple of requests, especially more recently, now that Polish Pickup Rewind is just a few weeks away, to see if I could do like a part 2 focused only on Polish pickup shades. At this point, voting for what shades you want to see come back is already like done and over with, because like I said, the Rewind shop is going to be opening up just like in a few weeks. But I still wanted to talk about these shades because maybe they can come back next year or at some other point in the future. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So the first couple of polishes I want to talk about actually are going to be coming back, which I'm very excited to hear. The top one on my list is Kathleen Co's Follow Your Dreams. I was so excited to see this one be voted back in, and I am not surprised at all. I want to say this launched back in August maybe of last year, and it is this beautiful fiery shimmer in this like dark magenta kind of base. It is just so stunning, easily one of my top favorite polishes. You might remember me sharing it in my top 24 of 2024, so I am just so excited. I know so many of you guys are going to be excited to finally get your chance to grab this shade. Another one that I was excited to see come back is Bee's Lacquer Doomicorn, which is just another iconic polish. It is so perfect for all those like ethereal fairy core kind of vibes. It has this really soft lavender purple base filled with this glowy green shimmer that shifts to like aqua and cobalt in extreme angles. I don't remember exactly what year it came out, but I feel like it's been a few years at this point. And since then, we admittedly have seen like other polishes pretty similar to it. I remember when a friend of mine gifted it to me after like searching for it in D-stashes, but not wanting to pay an exorbitant amount of money, ended up realizing I did have something sort of similar to a previous polish shade from like even years ago. So, you know, it's not like a unique shade necessarily, but it is arguably still super beautiful. So if you don't already have anything like it in your collection, I feel like getting the OG Doomicorn is just going to be so satisfying to a lot of people. And aside from the polish shade that I mentioned that is obviously no longer around, I can't really think of other like super close dupes, at least at the top of my head, but I'm sure there are others. And the last shade that's coming back that I was actually so surprised to see is from, well, originally Wildflower Lacquer. They're now called Royla, but this shade is called Don't Play Coy, which is this super watery turquoise jelly base that is just packed with these glowing iridescent flakies, which I know may not sound like unique or anything. Like we've seen iridescent flaky jelly bases before, but there is something so magical about the flakies in this one where they just have this glow. They're also primarily in these like orange and gold kind of colorways, which contrast against the base color. I know that I have mentioned though with this shade that the base was always like really thin, so I am curious if it's been like reformulated to be like just a little bit more pigmented, because while it does build up like so beautifully, especially because again it's so packed with the flakies, it really is one of those shades that it's stunning, but it also low-key pisses me off because of how sheer it is. But I can't be too mad at it because it is just so freaking pretty. So I still really do love the polish. I especially love it for any kind of like mermaid or like Pisces related themes. If you are a flaky lover, you probably are going to be interested in this one. But if you are not a fan of like super sheer kind of jellies, you might not like it unless you are using like a blurring base coat or something. Now for some other polishes that I would love to see come back at some point, the first one on my list is Danglefoot Polish's Iris-istible. This one came out a couple of years in one of the months where the theme was like flowers, and it is this super beautiful like periwinkle, maybe indigo sort of base color that is definitely very sheer, very on the jelly side, but it is still packed with these iridescent iridescent glowing blue flakies and feel just so unique. Like, I haven't seen a polish come out similar to that one, and I feel like using something like Holotaco's Sonic Unicorn Skin, I think it's called, wouldn't really give the same effect. I feel like the flakies in the Danglefoot just kind of have this insane glow, and it is an especially beautiful combination with that more like purpley indigo base color. It is just such a beautiful glowy shade. This obviously goes for like any of the polishes that I'm going to be talking about moving forward, but if you happen to know of any close enough dupes, please share them in the comments, because I still have, like, you know, my bottle. I'm not looking for like a backup necessarily, but I would love for like other people to experience this shade because it is just stunning. Another jelly flaky that I think is so magical is Nailed It's Maya the Bee. Now, if you've been following me for a while and you know you are familiar with like my PPU purchases and like my regrets videos, you might remember me talking about like destashing that shade, and it's not because it was like a bad polish by any means. Like, it is so beautiful, but I destashed it because I essentially had duped myself. I think it was like just the month before, or even like a few weeks before, I had picked up Polish for Days A Whole New World, which is basically a one-to-one dupe, but seeing the Nailed It on the PPU website, I was just like so enamored with it. I mean, obviously, looking at it, it's so me. So against my better judgment, I did pick it up, only to, you know, confirm it for myself that they are dupes and I don't need both. But I do hope that it comes back in the future, again, mainly for other people to have the chance to get it, especially because the Polish for Days one isn't available anymore. So I feel like at that point, you know, it would be great for it to come back. Next up, I have a couple of magnetics, and the first one on my list is Kathleen Co's Release. This one came out in their grungy, like 90s sort of theme because it was inspired by a Pearl Jam album, and it is just a beautiful, like purple kind of base with a pinkish red magnetic shimmer. I just hadn't seen a magnetic polish in that kind of like bold colorway. I know we have seen a lot of magnetics, especially in the past several months, where the magnetic shimmer specifically is like super bold, very fiery and like color shifty, but they're usually in like darker, almost black bases. I think in a lot of the more recent months, they've been in like darker purple or like cobalt blue sort of bases. But this one was just a specific shade of purple that like I feel like we haven't really seen much for a magnetic. And again, in contrast with the magnetic shimmer, it just like complements it so beautifully, where it's not super contrasty, again, compared to something that has like a yellow shimmer against a black base, but I still really love it. I'm just a fan of the color combination, but I also am just a big fan of any kind of like red, hot pink magnetic shimmer in general. When it comes to a lighter kind of pastel magnetic, my top pick that I would want to come back at some point is Vapid Lacquer's The Seven Ravens. Vapid is one of those indie brands that like has been around for such a long time. I remember them being like way more popular years ago, like I mean a decade ago it feels like, but they were one of those brands that like I never personally got into. And I still remember, like, it wasn't on the website at the time, but it was a comment that I got afterwards that told me to like check the website again because they think that I would really like the shade. And I cannot thank this person enough because it is, again, just so up my alley, being this like super light kind of pinky blue cotton candy sort of magnetic. I think the base itself is actually more of like a mauvey dusty lavender kind of color, but it has this like blue shimmer all throughout, and then the magnetic shimmer is pink, which like I feel like we don't see enough and I want more of it, especially like this shade of pink because it's just so much lighter, where it's like a pastel magnetic. I freaking love it. It is so pretty. I can't believe that it almost like flew under my radar because it is easily one of like my favorite magnetic polishes. Definitely super unique to my collection. So I would love to see that one come back, especially for other like pastel magnetic fans. This next polish is one that I actually don't have in my collection. I just ended up skipping it and sort of still regret it, but that's Cadillacquer's The Shape of Water, which is inspired by the movie. And it is this super stunning like teal metallic foily kind of like base, or maybe not foily, but it's like filled with these flakies and it's so gorgeous. But then there are these pops of like red micro glitters, I think, in there that I am just such a sucker for. Like there's something about like a red element, whether it's a red shimmer or a red micro glitter, that just does something to my brain. So I would love to see that one come back or something like it, because I'm not particularly attached to like, you know, the theme. Like I remember watching the movie, but not really remembering loving it or just like caring so much about it. But it's also been years and I'm not like a big movie person to begin with. In general, with like a lot of media, I feel like I just kind of forget about things that happen. So, you know, I probably should rewatch it, because at this point, I just don't remember what happens in the movie. But I do remember that I loved that polish so much. So I would love to see that come back. Speaking of Cadillacquer, the next polish that I had on my list is Eerie, which was this thermal polish. It was, I think, honestly, my very first thermal that I got. I want to say back in 2020. It is a super stunning thermal that transitions from a bright like turquoise color when warm to black when cold, and it has these glowing iridescent orange and yellow kind of flakies. I just love it so much. Thankfully, my bottle does still transition even after all these years, but it is noticeably weaker. And I know even a couple of months ago, I think it was the month to celebrate Polish Pickup's like 8th birthday or anniversary or whatever, they came out with like Eerie 2.0 essentially. And I was so tempted to grab a bottle of that one. I think maybe like the flakies were different or something, but it did have that same like teal base color, at least in the warm state. But you already know how I feel with thermals, where like I just don't wear them enough personally. I feel like my collection is too large that it's just not like a good investment for me to buy them. So even though technically we did see like a 2.0 version kind of come back just a few months ago, I would love it if the original could just come back. It is just such a gorgeous shade, especially for Halloween. It just gives you those like spooky, eerie vibes. Speaking of Halloween, the next polish that I have is Noodles nail polishes straight out of Salem. This is a gorgeous like darkened teal sort of base, or maybe like a slate blue kind of color. Teal I think is like too bright to describe it, but it is packed with these like little micro glitters in black and orange and gold. As I'm sure you know, I am a big Crelly lover. I have such a soft spot in my heart because that's like one of the first like indie finishes that I ever tried, and Noodles specifically was one of the first indies that I ever tried. So I just really love her Crelly polishes. I have a few of them still in my collection after so many years, and I feel like this one is just such a fun, like unique shade, especially for Halloween. It's like I haven't seen anything like it, probably because I think Crellys are not like as popular as they used to be, but it's just so unique, so on point. I think if you're a fan of like Halloween polishes in general, but you're not the biggest fan of Crellys, you probably would still like this one. And continuing on with Crellys, the next shade I want to talk about is another Noodle shade. This one is called Blueberry Lemonade. This is a super light baby blue kind of milky base that has these blue and white and yellow matte hex glitters. It's kind of like the sister polish to one of her more like popular shades called Pink Lemonade, which is obviously the pink version, and no surprise to anybody, another favorite of mine. And so I was really excited to see her do a blue lemonade version for Polish Pickup one year. I think it's just so light and refreshing, especially with like that light baby blue kind of base. And again, obviously the glitter mix is just so cute. Like I'm always a sucker for the color story of like the glitters in a Crelly to just really be so accurate to, you know, whatever the theme or inspiration is. I feel like when it comes to a lot of nail polishes, I'm always like pretty picky about little elements like that, where I'd say like, oh, you know, I really do like this, but I wish like it didn't have this color glitter, or it was like this instead. And this is one of those Crellys that I'm just like, I love it. Like it is perfect. Another brand that I really love for Crellys is Painted Polish, which she does like really great formulas across the board. She's made some beautiful like reflective polishes, like jelly flakies, even super dainty kind of micro glitters. I feel like she just has a stunning like signature formula for each of those finishes. And her Crellies are some of my favorites too, because they also have this like micro glitter kind of mix, which I think is just so pretty. So one of the first ones that I would love to see come back is called Pastel Prism. It's just a white Crelly base, but the glitter mix is basically a pastel rainbow in like, you know, pink, yellow, blue, green, like all these beautiful colors. It's just so sweet and like innocent. It totally gives me like Easter vibes, which, you know, I don't really like celebrate as a religious holiday, but as a holiday with like bunnies and Easter eggs and little chickies, I think it's just so cute for that. But it's also just like a perfect springtime polish in general with how light and soft it is. So I would love for that to come back. And the other one is called Feelin Frosty, which is another white Crelly base, but this one has like these aqua blue and like periwinkle kind of micro glitters. It is just so pretty. I love the color combination of those glitters so much. Definitely one of those shades where like as a kind of winter hater makes me appreciate the season so much more, because it just like makes the season feel cute for me, you know? If you aren't familiar with Crellies, I have like a whole video talking about like some of my favorites, which are unfortunately not really available anymore because like I said before, they're just kind of more of an older finish. You don't see them as often these days compared to just like shimmers or flakies, probably because Crellies having those micro glitters usually requires like a peel off base coat. Otherwise, you are going to be scrubbing for a long time, but they still are so cute. And I'm just such a sucker for these like color combinations. And again, specifically Noodles and Painted Polish's formulas are just some of my favorite Crellies. Even for painted polish, there's some other honorable mentions that I want to talk about, like the Witch's Back, and I think it's called Lookin' Mighty Pine, both of which are these like reflective kind of jelly polishes. When I say jelly though, they are very, very pigmented, and both of these are like darker shades. So like, you know, you totally get like full opacity and coverage with just 2 coats, but they are so gorgeous. Like I love how like deep and alluring the colors are and just how sparkly they are, because as you know, I love reflective glitters. And I feel like the painted polish formula, especially for these 2 shades, are just like so much more fluid and like smooth, because as you might know, some reflective glitters are so gritty like sandpaper. It would be nice to see those come back just because I really enjoy them and I think other people would too, but I feel like those are maybe a little bit more on the like simple side, where we might see other brands create something similar to that compared to a glitter Crelly, you know what I mean? And the last polish that I would love to see come back is KBShimmer's Rose Were the Days. This is one of those like shimmer polishes that also has a hollow flaky in it. So we definitely have seen this finish before. And don't get me wrong, it's totally possible we've also seen this like color combination before, but it's like this really dark, hot pink sort of base with this fiery copper shimmer. And again, those hollow flakies. It is just such a stunning, beautiful combination. It kind of gives me like hot tropical summer vibes, and it's definitely one of those shades that like whenever I share it on my channel, or even if I'm like wearing it, it's like you just get compliments on it, you know, and you're like, what is the shade? And unfortunately, it's not around anymore. So I feel like that would be another popular one to bring back. Maybe more important than the polish, I would love to see certain KBShimmer sugar scrubs come back, because as you know, I am such a fan of them. They have such yummy scents. At this point, I definitely have tried like a handful of the different ones from PPU. If anything, that's kind of like one of the staple things that I'll get, though there are like a few months that I have skipped. But that being said, the majority of them have been like amazing. There's only been one scent that I was like kind of disappointed in, which was the strawberry sugar crunch or something. It was like a cereal kind of scent. Wasn't the biggest fan of that one, but everything else was just yummy, delicious in general. But I would say there are 3 scents that like really stand out to me that I would easily buy more backups of if they came back. I think the number one scent for me is strawberry shortcake, which I don't remember what year it was at this point. It was at least 3 years ago, but oh my god, it was just so good. If I can find like the original scent notes, I'll have them up, but from what I can remember, it's just a strawberry shortcake, like, you know, sweet pound cake, fresh fruit type of scent. I'm not always the biggest fan of like really sweet desserts like that, but like strawberry shortcake specifically is one of those scents that like I go feral over. So I would probably buy like 3 of those if that ever came back. I know that seems excessive, but I do use these scrubs like literally every day when I'm in the shower. And I'm definitely not one to like hoard products either. And I would make the trade-off where like, okay, I'm gonna get these, but I'm not gonna be buying any more sugar scrubs because obviously that's gonna be way more excessive. But if I could use the strawberry shortcake one like exclusively for the rest of my life, ideally, that would be the one. In second place is the Rainbow Shaved Ice Scrub, which I picked up originally last year when they brought it back for Rewind Then. It's another sweet, like fruity kind of scent, which obviously is, you know, kind of one of my favorites. And I love that one so much that I did pick up a backup during Black Friday, and I still have it in my bathroom cabinet. Like the second one, I haven't opened it yet because I almost don't want to like use it up because I love it so much. But I obviously will, like, again, I'm not gonna, you know, just hoard it and not use it. But that was another one that was just so delicious. And I also just love that it's kind of like rainbow. It's like so pretty. And most recently, my favorite scent from this year is called Lilac Blooms. I was so surprised with like how much I love that one. Like, because again, whenever I'm doing like my window shopping and looking at the scrubs, I'm always like really interested in the scents because they just sound yummy, but there was still something about it where it just like cemented itself in my top 3 favorite scents so far. But since it was so recent, like I want to say it was maybe February or March that it came out, I don't know if it's gonna be coming back this year, but if it does, I will be buying a backup of that. I think I was most surprised by that one because it's not that like typical sweet fruity scent. It's usually like the floral ones that I'm like, you know, like it's probably nice. Like I love lavender, for example, but I'm not always crazy about like a floral sort of scent. And this one I think had like amber or something. So there's just like this cozy element to it. It just was so lush and I want more of it. It really hurt so much to like use it up because I was like, I don't have a backup of this. I don't know if it's like been said on KBShimmer's Facebook what scents are coming back because they bring back a lot of sugar scrubs on their website. They have like a little PPU tab. So I'm really excited to peek over there to see what scents are being brought back this year. But again, I feel like in general, you just like cannot go wrong with them. The only one I didn't like personally was that like cereal one, which was disappointing because I thought that I would like it. And I'm pretty sure I had mentioned it in like my PPU yearly roundup video that I think it's the buttery caramel note that I'm not the biggest fan of because all the other scents were like scents that she's used before that I've liked. So that kind of seems like the outlier for me. And it is strange because, you know, I like caramel in general, but maybe as a scent, I'm not the biggest fan. But yeah, let me know what you think of the scents or even just the polishes that I talked about. I know there are so many other like fan favorite cult classic PPU shades. Obviously the majority of the ones that I talked about today are ones that I have in my collection. And so like I've tried them, I love them, but I feel like they're still so beautiful and I would just love for other people to have the chance to try them. So, you know, maybe next year or maybe we can keep an eye out for like potential dupes for these shades moving forward. But either way, I hope that you enjoyed me talking about some of my favorite PPU shades. I would love to know what some of your favorites are that you would love to see come back or what you're excited is coming back in a few weeks. Make sure to let me know any and all thoughts you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!